Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I've never been a dramatic man. I'm steady, predictable, maybe even boring if you ask the right person. My name is Daniel Adams, 45 years old, married to Maria Adams for 12 years. We built a quiet life, routine dinners, weekend errands, comfortable silence. Nothing wild, nothing unstable, nothing that prepared me for the night she didn't come home. It started on a Thursday. Maria stood in the doorway fixing her earrings, saying she had a client dinner across town. She claimed her manager wanted her team there, and she might be late. She didn't look tired from a long day. She looked polished. Her dress was nicer than what she usually wore to the office. I noticed, but I didn't comment. I'd never been the suspicious type. She kissed my cheek, grabbed her bag, and said, "Don't wait up. I'll be home before midnight." I nodded and told her to drive safe. I cooked a simple dinner, watched a basketball game. By 11, I sat near the window with the porch light on, expecting to hear her car pull into the driveway. Midnight passed without headlights. I sent one text. "Everything okay?" No answer. By 1 in the morning, her phone went straight to voicemail. That wasn't normal. By 2, the house felt too quiet. I walked from the living room to the kitchen and back again, listening to the clock tick like it wanted me to do something. At 3:30, I gave up on sleep. I sat at the table with a cold cup of coffee and stared at the door that wasn't opening. Then, at 6:07 a.m., my phone buzzed. Not a call, just one message from Maria. "Staying with the team. Don't worry." No explanation, no apology, no hint of concern that she'd disappeared for an entire night. And somehow, that message told me more than she thought it did. Something in the wording made my chest go quiet, not heavy. A strange stillness settled in. I stared at the screen, reading the message again and again until the truth began fitting itself together in my mind. She didn't come home, and she didn't stay with any team. Not that night, not with that tone, not with that timing. Everything changed the moment I understood that. I sat back and stared at the phone, waiting for some kind of follow-up, a missed call, even a second text. Nothing came. I got ready for work. The routine felt automatic, like my body was moving while my mind stayed somewhere else. At the office, I sat down at my desk and opened our shared credit card account. We only used it for joint expenses, which made the charge jump out immediately. Riverton Business Hotel, 12:15 a.m. Maria had never stayed there before. Her company didn't use that hotel for anything. And if she had been with the team, she wouldn't have paid for it herself. I clicked the line item, studied the timestamp, and took a screenshot. Next, I opened our old family location app. We set it up years ago, and neither of us bothered to remove it. I hadn't checked it in months. Her location history drew a clean path across the screen. Restaurant, hotel, a residential street at 5 in the morning, then the office. There was no team hotel, no late meeting, no too tired to drive, just the truth she didn't bother hiding because she didn't think I'd ever look. I leaned back, closed my eyes for a moment, and let everything settle. I still hadn't called her. I wanted to hear the version she chose to tell before I showed her what I already knew. I got home early that day. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own thoughts lining up one by one. Then I drove to a locksmith 2 blocks away. By lunch, the front door lock was changed. I didn't slam doors, didn't mutter anything under my breath. I printed everything I'd gathered: the hotel bill, the credit card charge, the map showing the path she took. I slid them into a plain envelope. No letter yet. I wanted to hear her version first. At 6:40 p.m., I saw her car turn into the driveway through the living room window. She got out, holding a takeout cup and her work bag, tapping her phone with her thumb like she was rehearsing something. The moment her key scraped the lock, she froze. "Daniel?" she called. "Something's wrong with the door." I stayed silent. She tried the handle again, harder. Then again. She knocked, firm but controlled. "Did the lock jam?" she asked, voice tightening. "Can you open up?" I waited a beat, then another. My phone buzzed. Maria calling. I let it ring out. She knocked again. "Daniel, seriously. What's going on?" I stepped closer to the door so she could hear me clearly. "Rough night with the team?" The pause on her side lasted a full second. "Oh, that." Her tone shifted, lighter, forced. "It wasn't a big thing. Everyone stayed at the hotel because it got late. I told you I might not be home." "You didn't say you weren't coming home," I answered. She laughed once, quick and thin. "Come on. You're blowing this up. Just open the door. We'll talk inside. No, I said. We'll talk right here. She tried to sound calm. There's nothing to talk about. I stayed with the group. Are you sure about that? The quiet after that sentence wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that lets truth start pushing against whatever story someone hoped they could sell. Daniel, she whispered, please open the door. I didn't move. Not yet. I kept the door shut while Maria tried every tone she thought would work on me. First calm, then annoyed, then soft, then shaky. Nothing opened the lock. I stood in the hallway, arms crossed, listening to her knuckles tap the wood like she was entitled to walk back into the life she stepped out of the night before. Daniel, this is ridiculous, she said. Let me in so we can talk like adults. I didn't move. I wanted to hear the version she planned to sell without knowing how much I already knew. Then my phone vibrated. The timing was sharp, almost surgical. I looked down and saw an unfamiliar number. I ignored Maria's knocking long enough to open the message. Hi, my name is Zara Nolan. I think your wife was with my husband last night. For a second, everything went silent in my head. I opened the attachment she sent before I even replied. A photo appeared, grainy, taken from a hotel lobby camera. Gary and Maria, side by side at the counter. Maria leaning slightly toward him, Gary handing over his card. Her coat draped over her arm like she wasn't in a rush to leave. Another image, the elevator. Gary standing close behind her, his hand on the small of her back. Maria looking up at him. A third. Both of them walking down a hallway. No group, no team, no colleagues in sight. Zara sent one more message. He lied to me. I found these through a friend. I thought you should know. If you need more, I have it. I typed back only 2 words. Thank you. Outside the door, Maria kept knocking, completely unaware that her entire story had collapsed in my hands. Daniel, please open, she said. We can sort this out. I placed my phone in my pocket, stepped closer to the door, and rested my hand on the frame without opening it. She didn't know yet, but the message Zara sent told me everything. And now, for the first time since Maria walked out the night before, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I opened the door just wide enough for Maria to see my face. She stood on the porch with her hair pulled back, makeup smudged. Her eyes searched mine like she expected sympathy, not truth. Daniel, finally, can we talk inside? Her voice wavered, but her posture tried to look confident. I shook my head. Who is Gary Nolan? She blinked twice. Gary? He's just someone from another department. You know how cross-team projects work. We were all together last night. It got late. That's all. I kept my tone steady. Which hotel did the team use? She swallowed. The usual one. The North Line. Same as last quarter. That's interesting, I said, because you didn't stay at the North Line. Her smile fell. Daniel, please, can we just go inside? People can see us. I didn't move. You stayed at the Riverton Business Hotel, room 214. You checked in just after midnight. Her face drained. What? No, that's not right. I wasn't even... Someone must have... I saw the charge on our card, I said, my voice steady. And I pulled the invoice this morning. Your name is on it. She shook her head quickly, panic creeping in. That doesn't mean anything. It could have been for the team or... You weren't alone, I added, holding her eyes. I held up my phone so she could see the screen. A photo of her and Gary stepping into an elevator filled the image. Time-stamped 12:30. Gary's hand rested on the small of her back like it belonged there. Zara sent these, I said calmly. She wanted me to know where her husband spent the night. Maria shook her head hard like she could shake away reality. Daniel, this isn't what you think. He drank too much. I just stayed with him for a while to make sure he was okay. That's it. Nothing happened. You didn't leave, I replied. You stayed. You were still there in the morning. She covered her mouth. Her breath came shaky and shallow. I made a mistake, she whispered. A stupid one. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. I kept my voice even. Nothing just happens after midnight in a hotel room you checked into. Her eyes filled fast. Please let me in. We can fix this. I'll explain everything. I'll do anything. I didn't open the door an inch wider. Maria, I'm done listening to stories. I'm only dealing in facts now. Her expression cracked completely, and she finally understood that the truth wasn't something she could outrun anymore. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't push the door wider than a hand's length. I simply held the envelope where she could reach it. Maria hesitated before taking it, like it might burn her fingers. She looked down at the papers inside, then back at me. "What is this?" she whispered. "A plan," I said. "Something you didn't have last night." She flipped through the pages, eyes jumping from printout to printout. Hotel receipt, screenshots, the short separation draft, the instructions for her to collect her things when I wasn't home. Her breathing shifted with each page, shallow and uneven. "You're ending our marriage over one mistake?" she said, trying to stay composed but failing. "No," I answered. "I'm ending it because you walked out of this house last night and didn't think twice. You didn't call. You didn't care. And you lied before your shoes even hit the porch." She touched the door as if steadying herself. "Daniel, please, I wasn't thinking straight. Gary said—" I cut her off. "Whatever Gary said doesn't matter. Whatever you felt last night doesn't matter. Actions matter. You chose where you spent the night." She swallowed hard, the kind of swallow people make when reality finally hits. "Where am I supposed to stay?" "With your sister," I said. "You're not sleeping here tonight." Her eyes snapped up. "People will ask questions. Answer them however you want," I said. "I'm not helping you cover anything." She stepped closer, trying to see into the house. "We can talk inside. We can figure things out." "You had all night to think," I said. "I had all morning to decide. This is where we are now." For a moment she looked like she might push the door. I didn't move, and neither did the door. "You're being cruel," she said softly. "No," I replied. "I'm being clear." She finally stepped back, clutching the envelope like she was holding her own verdict. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I didn't think you'd actually do this," she said. "That's why I'm doing it," I told her. Maria didn't argue after that. She walked down the porch steps slowly, almost carefully, like the ground wasn't steady. She got into her car and stared at the windshield for a long second. She drove away without looking back. The house went quiet. The weeks after that night moved quietly for me, but not for Maria. I kept my routine simple: work, gym, home. No chaos, no arguments, no late-night messages that needed answering. Meanwhile, her life started folding in on itself in ways I didn't have to influence. All I did was step out of the way and let the truth do the work. She texted every couple of days. The tone changed each time. First, it was soft apologies. "Daniel, please talk to me. I messed up. I didn't think." Then blame. "Gary pressured me. You don't understand what he was doing." Then anger. "I can't believe you're throwing everything away. We built a life." I answered once, short and clear. "We're done. Focus on what you need to fix." After that, I muted her number. She could send whatever she wanted. I didn't need to read it. Her family found out within a week. Her sister called me first, trying to get the full story. I kept it factual. No insults, no emotion. Her parents called a few days later, voices tight and disappointed. They didn't defend her. They just said, "We're sorry you had to go through this." And that told me everything about how they felt. Work hit her harder. Zara didn't sit quietly. She filed a complaint with HR, along with the screenshots and the hotel photos. Since Gary was married and held a higher position, he took most of the impact. But Maria wasn't shielded. She was pulled into 2 internal meetings, asked to step away from her client accounts, and eventually moved to a different department with less responsibility. She kept her job, but the step backward was obvious to everyone who worked with her. I heard she'd moved into a small place near her sister. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet retreat from the life she'd been trying to hold together. Friends told me she looked exhausted, like someone running from conversations she didn't want to have. I didn't chase updates about her, but they reached me anyway. I signed the final papers on a Wednesday morning. Maria didn't look at me much. She kept her eyes on the table, twisting a pen between her fingers like she was trying to keep them steady. When the clerk asked her the final confirmation question, her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. I didn't feel anger. This was the right move. We stepped outside, standing there for a moment like 2 people waiting for a bus instead of closing a marriage. Maria finally spoke. "Daniel, I never thought we'd end like this." "I didn't think we'd end with you at a hotel with someone else," I said. My tone wasn't sharp, just factual. She nodded, taking the hit without arguing. She wiped her eyes and said, "I hope one day you understand I wasn't trying to hurt you." "You did anyway," I said. "That's enough." She opened her mouth like she wanted to say more, maybe to rewrite history one last time, but nothing came. Instead, she whispered, "Goodbye," and walked across the parking lot toward her sister's car. I watched her get in, and for the first time since the night she didn't come home, I felt something lift off my chest. Later that evening, I returned to my place. I sat on the couch and let the stillness settle around me. No tension, no waiting for footsteps at midnight, no rehearsed excuses. Zara texted me a brief update around 8. Divorce official on my side next month. Thank you for being honest when he wasn't. I sent a short reply wishing her peace. We didn't need to talk beyond that. We had both lost something, but we had both gained clarity. As I sat there, I realized something important. The moment Maria didn't come home, our marriage ended. That message at 6:07 a.m. didn't break us. It exposed what was already gone. I didn't lose a partner that night. I just stopped carrying someone who quit on us long before I did. Thank you for watching.